All right. Now I am Carrie Davidson. I'm the fitness manager, and I'm here to talk to you about physical activity and fitness for everyone. And I'll use those two terms interchangeably today, fitness and physical activity, even though fitness is a little bit more formalized, where we're trying to get 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise 5 days a week. And physical activity is more of like, I'm going to make sure I'm gardening and, walking around the grocery store and taking the stairs. That's typically how we categorize those. But for today, I might use them interchangeably because we're really just talking about how to make sure that we're getting enough exercise in and how to get that in during the day. So here's our agenda. I just have about 4 bullet points that I want to talk about. We're going to talk about the difference in procrastination and productivity. So P words, I like to have a little bit of alliteration. Organizing your time, I'm going to give you some really realistic, real life examples of how to do that, and establishing priorities when it comes to movement and physical activity, and then how to build up that focus. So a little bit different spin on what you guys probably already know. Exercise is important. So the big procrastination, this is the reason that most people don't exercise. They have a good intention, right? Intention is not the same as goal, but they have a good intention of, I'm going to get up early in the morning and exercise. Now, let me pause right there and say, I am not a morning person. I run the fitness centers and I have for years. I'm an exercise physiologist. Exercise is my life. I am never going to get up early to exercise. I'm not a morning person. It's not when I have the most energy. That would not be in my best interest. And so getting up early is not a goal I will ever set for exercise. Now, I hope that eases some of your minds to go, I don't have to do it either. Now, my best time, my best energy, and when I have the time to do it is around lunch. That's when I always get my workout in. So there you go. So however, if you have an intention, not necessarily a goal, but an intention to hit or to get up in the morning and exercise, and then that alarm goes off and you'll go, let's take 10 more minutes, and you hit the snooze, that starts a cycle of procrastination that's very hard to get out of. And then what happens is we either get up on time or we end up getting up late, getting to work late. And so then we'll go, oh, I'll just work out after work, right? Like we just put that off in our mind and put it off and put it off and put it off. Well, we've been so busy at work because we were late that after work, we're so tired, we don't want to do it. And you think, oh, I'll just do it in the morning. And here we go. And we're stuck in this cycle. And so that is how procrastination starts and how come it's really hard to break it. So if you are a person who leaves things to the last minute, then you know what it's like to feel in that pink zone of expletives, maybe. And so the way to stop it is to not start it. So first of all, we're going to talk about setting some realistic goals. Like I said, I'm not a morning person, not going to get up early to exercise. Not my thing, not going to do it. So ask yourself, when do you have the most energy? Is it first thing in the morning? Maybe you really are a morning person and you do want to work out in the morning. Great. Make sure that that's the first thing that you do when you roll out of bed. You're probably not going to be hitting the snooze, any of those things. So set some goals that are realistic for yourself. And then try to imagine all the excuses that you would use to get out of anything, not just exercise or working out, but to get out of anything, any excuse that you would use. And so we've heard them all. And a lot of them can be cyclical, especially the I'm tired. We're tired probably because we're not sleeping well and probably because we're not exercising. And if we exercised more, then we would sleep better, then we wouldn't be so tired. And then we would be on the upward swing instead of the downward spiral. I am a fair weather runner. Now, I don't mind to walk in the cold, but I don't want to run in the cold. So it's too cold, it's too hot, the weather's not exactly perfect. Try to cut those off at the pass. It's too late. It's too early. Write down all the possible ways that you could excuse yourself out of getting more exercise, cross them off your list, and give yourself a new mantra, right? A mantra is just a word or a phrase that we repeat to ourselves over and over. We repeat it in our head. We might even write it out and stick a sticky note on our desk. Let's go, or I can do this, or whatever it is that works for you. Cross out the excuses and set yourself a new intention. Set yourself a new mantra, a new motivation. That's really what we're looking for here. Now, The other big P word besides procrastination is productivity. And so, how can you make the movements that you take throughout your day more productive movement? So, instead of just going about your day as you normally would, it's really a mindset shift to go every time I sit down or stand up out of my office chair. That's essentially a squat. You do this in your office chair, you do this at the kitchen table, you do this in your car, you do this in the bathroom. You're doing a squat movement. So take advantage of every single time that you get up and down from your chair or up and down in the bathroom to pause just for 1 second in that squat position to build yourself some extra muscle in the quads, right? So you can use the things that you do every single day to get more productive movement in. Same thing when you're picking something up off the floor, whether you're changing out the garbage can in your office. Hopefully we have some help with that, but sometimes we don't. I take my own out every now and then. So whether you're picking something up off the floor, taking out the garbage, take a knee. That's a lunge, right? Let that knee hover for just 1 second before you come down. So instead of doing some awkward movement or rolling over at the waist or bending over to pick something up, take a knee. You're doing a lunge movement. I think you all know what I'm talking about when I say take a knee, right? You just put one knee up and one knee down. When you do pick things up from the floor, if it is something that's a little bit lighter weight, make it a deadlift movement. When we hinge the hips, reach down for the floor, keep the knees soft, and pick something up, that's the same thing as a deadlift. Just because we don't have a barbell in our hand doesn't mean that we can't make that movement productive through our day. So you're still practicing those same healthy movement patterns. And we're going to talk about movement patterns a little bit more later on. And then take your time and make your time count. So, some things are a necessary evil. One of my least favorite things to do is go to the grocery store. I don't really like to go to the grocery store, but we have to do that every so often, or go shopping or do whatever it is, pick up things, run errands. So take your time, park in the very back of the lot. Don't look for the closest spot. Look for the spot that's furthest away. Remember, I said, this is a mindset shift. You're not looking to be, I don't want to say the word lazy. You're not looking to have fewer steps. You're looking to have more steps. Park in the very last spot you can find at your Kroger, Walmart, Target, wherever it is that you're going. Park in the very last spot on purpose. Park in the very last spot in the parking garage. I know, what? It's like I'm cussing, but I'm not. I'm telling you, make your movement count. And then there's ways to make your movement more functional and dynamic. And if you've heard me speak at all in the last few years at UK, then you've probably heard me talk about functional movement and dynamic movement. So functional movement are things that mimic the things that we do in everyday life. Like some of these things that we've just talked about. Squatting. Yes, you can squat in a rack in a gym with a barbell on your back, but you do it every day when you sit down and stand up from your chair. That's a functional movement. We do it every day. So it's a good idea to go to the gym and train for life, right? Practice those things in the gym. So when you do them in life, you're doing them with a healthy movement pattern, and you're going to prevent injury because you're doing it in a healthy way. So that's functional movement. Dynamic movement means that you're getting more bang for your buck because you're covering more than one joint or more than one muscle group. So for example, a bicep curl covers one muscle, your bicep, right? And this is basically what we do. So I'm not training for this. I don't need to do that very often. And so this is not very dynamic. But whenever we push a door open, that is more of a dynamic movement because we're using the front, the back, the biceps, the triceps, the deltoids. We're using everything. So when we push a door open, or in the gym, that's a bench press, right? We push things away from us. That's a more dynamic movement. We're covering more than one joint, covering more than one muscle group, so you get more bang for your buck. All right, organize your time. So I am all for efficiency. It's in my personality. It's in my DNA. So being efficient with my time is a high priority for me. And so whenever I'm doing dedicated exercise, whenever I'm in the gym or doing a workout, then I'm going to superset, meaning I'm going to put two things together So instead of exercise, rest, exercise, rest. I don't like that rest period, right? Because I could be doing something in that time. So superset is just a fancy way to say that we're putting two things together. And so we don't have as many rest periods. And so in my examples here, whenever you are doing dedicated exercise, whether you're in the gym or at home or using dumbbells or machines or body weight or bands, that part doesn't matter. You want to, if you push it, you want to pull it. So for example, in the gym, if you're going to do a bench press, you want to do a row. If you push it, you want to pull it, right? Same thing with the lower body. If we push it, we want to pull it. So if we do a squat, we want to do a deadlift, right? So push, pull. You want to be even on the joints. If you work your quads, you want to work your hamstrings. Either side of that joint, push, pull. Another way to superset things would be to do upper extremity, lower extremity. So I might go do an arm exercise and then go do a leg exercise and then go back and do an arm exercise and then go back and do a leg exercise. That way I've worked arms, they can rest while I do legs. And then I've worked legs, they can rest while I go back and do arms. So we're just putting two things together to reduce the rest periods. Another one, and I use this all the time in all sorts of situations, and I give this advice a lot when I'm working one-on-one with people for consults, is to do it as a circuit. So it's kind of the same concept as the one above, but in the gym, you'll find in every gym, you'll find that the selectorized machines are probably organized in a circuit type manner, where you could just go one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And get in an entire full body workout in a circuit. So you could use that example or any exercises that you're doing. If you're going to do 3 sets of 10, 2 sets of 8, doesn't matter what your sets and reps scheme are, go do a set of 8, a set of 8, a set of 8, a set of 8, go back and do it again, set of 8, set of 8, set of 8, so that you're getting 2 sets of 8, but you're not resting in between. And then a HIIT workout, you guys are probably familiar with this acronym, high intensity interval training, is exactly what it sounds like. It's super high intensity for a short amount of time, and then a rest period that's a little bit easier activity for a short amount of time. And it goes back and forth in an interval. So high intensity, low intensity, high intensity, lower intensity. And that way you don't have to take as long. You can do a shortened workout and get the same health benefits from a shortened workout. And then the last example that I'm going to give you is a Tabata protocol. So this is a famous protocol. The whole thing lasts 4 minutes. It's a variation on HIIT. It's 20 seconds, hard as you can, gut-wrenching exercise, followed by 10 seconds of rest. And you repeat that cycle. And so that 8 times, so that you've got 4 minutes. So you get the whole workout in 4 minutes. So here's an example of a circuit. But before we jump in, I want to just reiterate our guidelines from the American College of Sports Medicine when it comes to all things exercise related, all physical activity. So before we jump into the circuit, let me just give you 3 categories. Our first bucket is cardiovascular exercise, walking, running, jogging, swimming, dancing, large muscles, rhythmic movement patterns, things where you're breathing really hard. All right. So not strength training. This is cardiovascular exercise. The ACSM guidelines for cardiovascular exercise, 30 minutes, 5 days a week, moderate intensity, which would be like a brisk walk. Okay. Or you get the same health benefits, 20 minutes, vigorous, 3 days a week. Vigorous would be more like a jog. Okay, so you get the same health benefits either way. So that's our cardio bucket. Our strength bucket, the guidelines are pretty generic because it's going to depend on your goals. But the strength guidelines from the ACSM are 2 to 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps, major muscle groups, at least twice a week. 3 days is better, 2 to 3 days a week. Okay, so that's really broad. And I'm going to train, this is where you really need to find a certified trainer or a knowledgeable person in exercise science, right? Because I'm going to train you very differently if you're here for weight loss, as opposed to somebody who wants muscle hypertrophy and you're trying to get big muscles and strong, right? Those are going to be 2 different workouts, but the guidelines cover them both. All right, so that's your cardio bucket, that's your strength bucket. And then your third bucket is flexibility and mobility. So being able to move your joint through a full range of motion. So the ACSM guidelines for flexibility are 3 sets, 30 seconds, major muscle groups, 3 times a week. That's your guidelines. So put that up there. I'm just giving you that for background and context. I am giving you here in the next few slides some very real examples of how to work this in to your everyday life, no matter who you are, using some of these tips that I've given you for productive movement. Okay. So for this first circuit, you can see in red are things in the cardio bucket. Jumping jacks, high knees, shadow boxing, all right? And then exercise 1 might be a strength training exercise like a squat or a bench or lunges or plank or anything that's going to build strength. It's a resistance training. So the way a circuit works is, and I've got 6 exercises for you here. So the way a circuit works is jumping jacks, we'll just say 30 seconds, right? You could put any time frame on there. You're going to do jumping jacks for 30 seconds and then go into exercise 1. And maybe you're going to do 15, or you're going to go for time, right? Another 30 seconds of squats. And then you're going to go back to 30 seconds of high knees, so that you're going back and forth between the cardio and strength training, working different systems. And at the end, you're going to get the whole thing in, because you've got, if you're going 30 seconds here, then you've got 3 minutes of cardio and you've got 6 different exercises. You repeat it 2 times, you're probably going to hit those guidelines, right? So it's not that complicated. And I'm going to take questions at the end. So if this is blowing your mind, don't worry. This is just an example. All right. An example of a HIIT, high intensity interval training. This is a 10-minute, total of 10 minutes, right? So 30 seconds of each of these things. An air squat, just meaning a sit to stand, a squat like you're going to sit in your chair and stand back up again. A single arm push-up. You might do this on the wall. You might do this on your desk. You might do this in the floor. So right arm, left arm. And then plank jacks, which is exactly what it sounds like. In the plank position, legs go jump out, jump in, jump out, jump in. Right? So each of those takes 30 seconds. You do a 30-second rest. So the column on the left totals 2.5 minutes. Column on the right equals 2.5 minutes, but we've changed up the exercises. And so if you repeat the whole thing twice, you've got a 10-minute workout and you've got a full body workout. Easy. Like I said, Tabata is a very specific protocol where it's 20 seconds gut wrenching as hard as you can, and then 10 seconds of easy for 8 rounds. And so the whole thing only lasts 4 minutes. So I've given you examples of what you might use that's going to hit both cardio and strength in a Tabata workout. Everybody hates burpees. I realize that. So inchworms are sort of a slowed down version of burpees. You can do crunches, lunges, push-ups, dips. You really can change out these exercises for whatever you want them to be. You could make it all total cardio. Let that sink in. You could do a complete Tabata workout that's all cardio. So 20 seconds, you're going to run as fast as you can. 10 seconds, you're going to walk. 20 seconds, run as fast as you can. 10 seconds walks. You do that 8 minutes. You do that 8 rounds, that's 4 minutes. That's a complete Tabata that's cardio, right? This one's sort of a mixture of things. So you can slice this and dice this in different ways. I'm here to help boost your creativity, or you can absolutely steal my examples. That's what I'm here for. Okay. Now, I want to talk about our priorities. So procrastination, productive movement, priorities. Ask yourself, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands or a thumbs up. Don't give me any emojis. Ask yourself, do you know people who you would call physically active? She's real active. She does. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Do you know people who are in the gym every day, or 3 days a week, or 4 days a week? Yeah. Do those people have 24 hours in their day? Me too. I have 24 hours in my day. It's all about how you prioritize your time. Is it more important for you to sit on your couch for 30 minutes and scroll through social media? Or is it more important to spend that 30 minutes doing a HIIT workout, or going for a walk, or doing a Tabata workout? 8 minutes only, or 4 minutes only. So priorities. When it comes to being efficient with our time, like I like to be, then I'm going to make sure that I've got the 5 major movement patterns, which again is a push and a pull, right? So consider planes of movement, and I'm trying not to get too sciencey here, but you can move this direction, right? Like walking. You can move this direction, up, down. Yeah. So if you push it in this plane, you want to pull it in this plane. If you do a push-up or a bench press, you want to do a row. If you push a door open, you want to pull a door closed. Push, pull in this plane. Push, pull in this plane. If you do an overhead press, you want to do a lat pull, right? If you push something up onto a cabinet, you want to close your trunk. This plane. So push, pull. Any joint, any plane, any joint. Push, pull. The next movement pattern is a hip hinge. Now, I'm going to just tiptoe onto my soapbox for a second. I'm not going to stand full on my soapbox, but your femur, your leg bone, it's the longest, biggest bone in your body. And the muscles that are attached to it, your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, are the largest, biggest muscles, strongest muscles attached. Those big bones, big muscles, they're made to take a big load. All right, now think about your vertebrae. They're these little tiny bones. They're not big. They're not made to take a big load. The muscles that they are attached to are here for stability and rotation, holding us up all day long, also not made to take a big load. So when we bend over, we want to hinge at the hips because we want to put the load where the load belongs, in the big bones and the big muscles. Never do we want to fold over the belly. Never do we want to round the spine. Okay, so push, pull, hip hinge, and then something with a single leg. Maybe that's high knees. Maybe that's lunges. Because walking requires us to use a single leg pattern. So we're training ourselves for life. So that is a major movement pattern because we do it every single day. And then rotation. We do have the ability to rotate. Our spine moves in 6 directions, and we have the ability to rotate. And we have these muscles, like I said, that are made for stability, obliques and rhomboids and all the things that help us to rotate. So those are the 5 movement patterns that we want to get in. So you're crunched for time. You only have a few minutes. Go push something, go pull something, do some hip hinges, something that's single leg for balance, and then something rotational. There you go. And you're going to have a balanced workout. So those are your priorities when it comes to creating a workout. So if your focus, if your goals, if what you want is to focus on your cardiovascular health, maybe you have a health history of heart disease, maybe your cholesterol has been diagnosed as too high, too low, right? Maybe you want to train for a half marathon, just saying. You could have lots of different cardiovascular goals, maybe whatever. Okay, cardiovascular goal. So you want 30 minutes, big movements every day. So it's 5 days a week. So this is how we work that in. If you're on campus, make sure that you park at least 10 minutes from wherever it is that you're going to your office. That's not hard to do at UK. Of course, you could be anywhere. So maybe that means you park in the farthest spot and you lap the building a couple times so that you get a 10-minute walk in before you walk in. 10 minutes is not going to make you sweaty. You're still going to be ready for your work day. Do the same thing when you leave. 10 minutes back out to get to the car. And then maybe you have a meeting during the day that you have to walk to that's 10 minutes, or maybe you're on a Zoom call where you could stand up and walk in place for 10 minutes like this. I'm just saying, feel free to stand up and walk around right now while I'm talking, because I'm going to talk for at least 10 minutes. You might as well use your time efficiently. You've got your 30 minutes. So if that's your goal, it's easy to work that in through your day. If your focus is resistance training, maybe you want to get really strong and lift heavy things. Maybe you don't want your legs to burn when you go up 2 flights of stairs. All of those are resistance training goals, right? Maybe you want to be able to paddle down the creek with your friends, right? Maybe that's kind of both cardio and resistance. But look at the chart here, and I'm going to go to the opposite corners, the opposite extremes. That top left one that says strength, that is, I'm going to lift something really heavy, but probably only going to do it one time. Whereas muscular endurance down in that bottom right corner is, I'm not going to lift something super heavy, but I can lift mulch and a shovel, and I can work all day long in my yard and be fine. That's muscular endurance. Okay. And there's things in between, but I was just giving you the two extremes. So we're going to train very differently for those two goals. But if your goal is that one of those two things or somewhere in between, then you want to focus on those 5 movement patterns at least twice a week, but not 2 days in a row. And the reason that the guidelines say not non-consecutive days is because when we push a force against a resistance, when we lift heavy things, dumbbells in the gym, cat food at the grocery store, when we lift heavy things that we're not used to lifting, we tear our muscle fibers. It's not bad, but we want to give them 24 hours to recover. So when we lift it again, they're going, I'm ready for it. Stronger now because I've done this before. That's adaptation, and that's how we get stronger. So non-consecutive days, because if we don't give that 24 hours in between to have recovery, then we break it down, we have an injury. So the day in between for recovery is really, really important. So if your focus is resistance training, focus on those 5 movement patterns at least twice a week. And then depending on if you want to get strong or whatever it is, then you can do your sets and reps according to this chart. And then if your focus is flexibility, like, man, I can't even bend down and tie my shoes. What happened? If we don't use it, we lose it. That's what happened. And so we want to take all of our joints through their full range of motion. And I gave you the guidelines. Remember that flexibility mobility bucket said 3 times 30 seconds, major muscle groups. But nobody's going to sit on the floor and stretch for 15 minutes, but you might go to a yoga class, or you might go to a Pilates class, right? Or when you're talking on the phone, you might do some stretches and stand up. Or when you're in a Zoom call that nobody can see you, you might sit on the floor and do some stretches. Just saying, you could be doing that. Use your time wisely. And then I have given you an example here. This is posted on our YouTube page. Our YouTube page is public, UK HR Health and Wellness. And this is an 8-minute chair yoga. It's very accessible. So you could do this if you got 8 minutes in your day. It's me leading you through a chair yoga class. It's on our YouTube channel, but the link is here. And I believe you're going to get this link at the end. So there's that. All right. So a few more really practical examples. Maybe you work from home. You're not setting foot on campus. You're not going to the gym. Here's some ideas. Okay. Walk the block. If you live in a neighborhood, I don't, but I do have some woods I can walk in back here. So 30 minutes walking, easy way to check that off the list. 15 body weight squats, just like we said, air squats, just pretend to sit down and stand back up. 15 push-ups, and then 15 door frame pulls, right? So holding onto the door frame, pull yourself to the door. So it's essentially like a row using your body weight. And then lunges, lunge, twist, switch legs, twist. If you are familiar with yoga and you've done downward facing dog, then that's a variety of push-ups that you can do that works a little bit higher up on the shoulder as opposed to the chest muscles. Dead bugs are for your core, and single leg bridge is a hamstring glute workout. So if you do 3 sets of 15, you're getting everything that you need in this example. Especially if you're, walking 30 minutes as well. Now, that also means you're going to unload the dishwasher. This is how I like to unload the dishwasher. 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm not picking everything up and doing it once. I try to take my time and use my time efficiently and make my movement count and be productive. So I'm doing that on purpose. My silverware drawer is very far away from my dishwasher. So I don't ever take out the little basket and walk it over. Nope. I pick up stuff and I walk it over, and I pick up more stuff and I walk it over, and I pick up more stuff and I walk it over. Same thing when I put away laundry. I like to do all my laundry in one day, and then I make child 1 stack and I take it, and I come back, and I make a child 2 stack, and I take it, even though they share a room, and I take it, and I come back, child 3. So I make trips on purpose so that I can get more movement in. And then I like to also keep my house nice and tidy. So I like to pick up things, but I won't go around the house and pick up everything at once. I pick up one thing and go put it away. Pick up one thing and go put it away. Pick up one thing and go put it away. I'm trying to make my time efficient. So these are all things that you can do at home. And eventually what will happen is when someone else hears this presentation and I say to them, do you know people who are active all the time? She's just always moving and doing things. They're going to be thinking of you because you're going to change your mindset. This is what you're going to be doing. All right, a couple gym examples. If you are a gym goer, and you guys know you have access here on campus, if you're local, you've got some options and resources for a very cheap, I'll just say, gym. You can do 10 minutes of cardio. Maybe that's your walk over. Maybe you walk over to MoveWell at Export Street and you have to cross over Virginia, or you have to cross over the tracks on Virginia. That might be a 10-minute walk. Check. And then you're just going to do 2 sets of 8. I like to superset mine in 3s. I told you 2s, but you can superset in 3s. So I will go do squat, bench, row, squat, bench, row. That one's done. Then I move to my next superset. Deadlift, overhead press, lat pull, repeat. That set's done. And then I go to my core and do those 2, and that one's done. So gym examples, home examples. Like I said, you can slice it and dice it according to your unique goals and focus areas, and then using some of these other tips and tricks. All right. This is one of my very favorite ones. So this is a work example. All right. You're going to park somewhere far away, or you're going to park in the back of a lot, take a 10-minute walk on the way in or around the office building, and there you go. At 8 o'clock in the morning, you're just going to do 10 sit to stand, 10 squats. At 9 a.m., you're going to set this alarm to go off every hour. And at 9 a.m., you're going to do push-ups on the desk. At 10 a.m., you're going to open the door 10 times with this hand and 10 times with this hand. At 11 a.m., you're going to use your rolling chair here at your desk to do crunches and rollouts for your abs. At noon, you're going to take that other 10-minute walk because you're still going to need another 10 minutes. And then at 1, you repeat, 2, you repeat, 3, you repeat, and 4, you repeat. So that you get everything in, 2 sets of 10, 30-minute walk because you walk back to your car for another 10 minutes. And that didn't take you very long. It's not like you had to go to the gym for an hour. At 8 o'clock, you stood up and did 10 air squats. And then you did it again at 1 o'clock. I hope you guys are following along on that example there. So in a whole work day, you can get all this extra movement in. You can be efficient. You can be productive with your time. And here's the reason, right? The whole reason that we do this is you have to find your why. Maybe you have recently been diagnosed with something that kind of shocked you. Maybe you have hypertension now. Maybe your cholesterol's high now. Maybe somebody in your family has had some sort of health event and it's genetic and you're like, oh man, it's time for me to have a wake-up call and now I need to go do something. Or maybe you're a giver, right? You're taking care of some aging parents and you're taking care of some kids and you got, lots of responsibilities. You can't pour from an empty cup. You're a better spouse. You're a better partner. You're a better employee. You're a better, whatever hat you wear, you're a better mom because of it. You're a better employee because of it. You're a better coworker because of it. When you take care of yourself, you're more equipped and more able to take care of your responsibilities, whether that be people or tasks. You're more equipped to take care of other things if you're taking care of yourself because you cannot pour from an empty cup. So even though the practical title for this is physical activity for everyone, fitness for everyone, it's really because of yourself, right? Fitness for self-care is going to be the bottom line. All right, I've done a lot of talking, so I'm going to give you a couple resources and then give you a chance to ask some questions. So this is our website. The URL has changed. So if you have bookmarked our URL for anything that's health and wellness or work, life, and well-being, and I specifically given you the physical activity page, then you're going to want to redo that URL and update your bookmark, because now it starts with hr.uky.edu. And then I can see that there is a typo here. There should be this should be a separate link, healthandwellness.uky.edu. That is our email address. You can get to me there. You can get to our dietitians. You can get to our health coaches. You can get to any of us with that email address. So that's the one I like to give out. You absolutely can also email me directly. It's just my name, carrie.davidson@uky.edu. And I see we have a few things going on in the chat. One of the great things about working at UK is the terrible, horrible, no good parking. Yes, hence why you ride your bike to work. Perfect. Yes, Dan, that's a great option. If you are in a close enough distance that you could walk to work or bike to work, those are great options. Like I said, I live in Woodford County, so not necessarily going to work for me, but I sure can park far away. So UK is great to give us lots of far away parking for our health. Yeah. And so that's an option I take. How do you do rolling crunches? Okay, I'm going to turn that chat off for a second. And Azetta, are you okay if I stop my share